welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. Whatever the case may be, you are welcome. My name is Amber, and I'm a practicing witch. Probably why you're here. Because you're here to learn about various things regarding witchcraft and practices of such. Or at least that's what I'm assuming. This video in particular is one in a series that I have been doing based on the celebrations that Wiccans and witches often celebrate. We've covered a lot so far, and today's will be based on Mabon. So sit back, relax, and join me. Just kind of hang out with me as I tell you how to create a pocket altar for that, and how to incorporate symbols and colors associated with it into your life, as well as the actual celebration itself. Okay? So just, let's just hang out and be spooky together. As per usual, I will have some quick notes on my phone, because I want to make sure that I give you guys the best and absolute accurate, or close to accurate information that I can give you. So yeah. So first and foremost, when is Mabon? Mabon is September 21st to September 22nd. But this is one of those holidays that I've touched on before in other videos, so I do encourage you to go watch the entirety of this series so that you know of all the celebrations and how to celebrate them. So, this, much like previous ones, is based on the idea that you can celebrate a week prior leading up to Mabon, or you can celebrate up to a week after, or you can just celebrate for the 24 hours. It's pretty flexible. This, once again, kind of like previous celebrations as well, is based purely on, like, feast. And I will get more into that in a minute. First let's talk about what Mabon is, okay? Like what Mabon actually stands for and why you celebrate. So Mabon is the second of the harvest festivals. These festivals, I covered the first one in a previous video, but this is the second one. And this one is in that Thanksgiving realm again, which again, with any of these harvest, what we call harvest festivals, you always celebrate with food and drink, because that's the idea of them. They are the harvest season, the farmers are harvesting their crops and harvesting other things. That's why we celebrate these particular celebrations, is to just be thankful for the earth's bounty and what she has given to us. So that's why you celebrate Mabon, along with the previous Lamas, which was the previous, the very first of the harvest festivals. Then you have Mabon, is number 2. So with each of these, you can almost celebrate like all month long in a way. You can celebrate the various forms of the harvest festivals, because they're all celebrated in the same way, with feast and the gathering of friends and family, and with drink. Just being thankful for all the earth is giving us in terms of bounty. I did a little bit of research, because some of these I'm obviously familiar with to a point, but some of it I'm not so familiar with. So, to learn kind of like the past aspects and things of them, basically in the past a little bit, they would sometimes celebrate the harvest season, not only with, like I said, food, drink, and getting together with your family and friends, but they also would celebrate by not wasting. So the idea is that no matter what you eat, and it doesn't matter if it's part of a big feast or if it's just something that you're having for lunch, okay? the idea is that for the entire time that these 3 festivals are going, these 3 harvest days, the idea is that for the 3 harvest days and in between, so from Lammas, the beginning of Lammas, to Samhain, the idea is that you do not waste food. You don't waste anything. You don't waste water, you don't waste food, you don't waste drink of any kind. You don't waste. During this time, it's very impecative. I would say impecative. For modern day, this is a good time to see just how much you can recycle. That would be my suggestion. As kind of like an everyday thing that you can do. See how much you can recycle, see how much you can prevent from going into the garbage, and things such as that nature. So just try to be very mindful of the earth during this time period. So yeah, so we're going to move into symbols such as animals and other things, crystals, herbs, all that kind of stuff. We'll start with the animals, like I said. These are animals, again, I want you to keep in mind that animals are not just symbols that you can place on your altar. Obviously they are. And you can wear them on clothing and things like that. But also these are animals that you could potentially eat during this time because this is the harvest festival time, right? So for meat during your harvest festival feast, I would suggest maybe looking into some of these animals and making sure that you acquire the meat from reputable sources, making sure that they've been killed humanely, making sure that they didn't suffer, things like that, because that is all a representation of all this, is to respect the earth. That does not mean that you don't, that you have to avoid eating meat, but it's having respect for the meat that you do eat. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So when you get the meat, you have to make sure that it's not being inhumanely kept. You have to make sure that it was wild and roaming, per se. Make sure that it lived a pretty good life. Make sure that you're just getting humanely kept and treated and killed meat, basically. If you yourself, I've touched on this again before with Lamans, but basically if you are going to go out and hunt your own things, your own meat, make sure that when you kill the animal, you kill it humanely and that you use every part of that animal. From the pelt, to the hooves, to the bones, to the meat, to the head, to the horns, if it has horns. But make sure you use the entire animal. That's what you want to make sure you do. And this is, again, all just paying respect to the earth, which is the idea of these festivals. And again, touching on this again, make sure that you buy local. If you're going to buy the meat, make sure that you buy from your local either farmers or that you buy from even local natives to the land. So your local Native American tribes or your local your local people, per se. So if you have people who live in the city, or if you live in a small town and you know the people there, just make sure that you buy local. That's probably your best bet for getting the best meat for this particular celebration. Okay? Alright, so moving on to the animals. So the animals associated, and again, like I said, I have clip notes on my phone. That's where I'm getting these from. I've already made these prior to filming this. So the animals are blackbird, eagle, owl, salmon, stag, wild goose, and wolf. Those are the associations. Now, of course, I do not encourage you to go out and kill a wolf to eat it. But the wolf is obviously going to be a symbol that you could wear or put on your altar. If you know somebody who is selling legit wolf pelts, so pelts from animals that obviously have not been hunted and killed illegally or anything like that, Sometimes you can buy stuff like that from your zoos. If there's a zoo near you, you could go purchase it from them. Because if they have wolves, sometimes they will gather the shed pieces of the pelts, and they sometimes put them together in on like clothes or things like that, so you can buy it from them. This goes for wildlife sanctuaries that have wolves as well. Sometimes you can go to them and ask if you could have something. Sometimes they sell them, again in a similar way, where they collect bits of shed pelt and they will create like gloves and hats and things out of it. It's not being taken from the wolf. This is shed fur from their winter and summer shed. So like they shed in the fall, like most animals, to get a winter pelt, and then during the spring they shed their winter pelt for a spring pelt / summer pelt. So they take these from around their cages, and they have to clean them up anyway. So they take them and they'll sometimes clean them and make them into, like I said, hats, scarves, gloves, things like that. You can also ask, I know sometimes if they have an animal who dies, as long as the animal hasn't died from a disease, sometimes they will take the pelt of that animal and they will, they'll properly clean it and things like that. Obviously this is rare, but you would have to ask around. But anyway, my point is that legal and well-treated wolf pelts is a good idea to have. For the Mabon celebration, you can put it on your altar as kind of like an altar cloth. But again, make sure that the animal was not hunted and killed either illegally or hunted and killed, period. Because these animals are endangered, so that's not a good idea. But if you can find one that is legit and has been humanely sourced, the pelt, then please, you could do that. Okay, so moving on, we're going to move on to herbs and the flowers associated, as well as trees. And then we'll move quickly on to incense and oils from there, okay? So the first thing for, we're going to cover herbs and flowers. So that is bittersweet, chamomile, marigold, oak leaves specifically, sorry. Again, my thing like ducked down and I couldn't when I was typing apparently, and I didn't fix that. Oak leaves, rue, sage, thistle, and yarrow. Now moving quickly along, I'm just going to go through these and then I will touch on things afterwards, okay? So then we have incense and oils, which is cinnamon, myrrh, frankincense, and sage. Those are your big ones. Your trees will be aspen, cedar, locust, maple oak, and pine and walnut. Now we will touch on crystals and stones. So your crystals and stones are going to be amber, citrine, or citrine, depending on how you pronounce it, cat's eye, lapis lazuli, sapphire, and yellow agates. Okay, so now with all of these items, again, you're going to want to take any of the incenses that I just mentioned, and when you're creating, I do not have a pocket altar, sorry, just a quick segue, I do not have a pocket altar to show you on this. I'm actually in the process of making one. It's one I've wanted to make for a little while, and yeah, I'm finally getting a chance to do that. So it's going to take me a little while to accomplish that, but yeah. And I will explain though now what you can do for that. So a pocket altar for Mabon, in my instance, I am making a cornucopia. If you don't know what a cornucopia is, I will put a picture here. So here you go. That is a cornucopia. I hope you guys can see it. So that is what a cornucopia is. And they are most representative of the Thanksgiving season, and thus are very big for the Mabon celebration as well. The idea is that you can make one of these, and then you can fill it with a bounty of foods. I suggest, I've seen some witches do fake, and that's okay. I mean, truly, if you can't really afford or anything like that, the real stuff, I would definitely suggest that you use fake. But if you can afford it, I would highly suggest that you get some real fruit and some real, like some real fruit, some real breads, grains, things like that. The most common that you see these filled with are a combination of fruit of the fall season. So like, you can fill it with like apples, plums, um, maybe blackberries. Blackberries might not be so bad for this time of year. Basically, look into fall seasoned fruits, and you should come up with that. But the most common, of course, are gourds. Gourds are often found in cornucopias, so you can put in like pumpkin, squash, sweet potatoes even though they are not a gourd, I realize that, but sweet potatoes are another thing. Potatoes in general. You can also put grains in there, so you can actually take like grain stalks and put them in there. But bread, obviously, is a big one. You can put bread in there. Little sourdough, regular, whatever you want, pumpernickel, like whatever you prefer, you can put in a cornucopia. And for your pocket altar, that's what I would suggest, because with this pocket altar, previous pocket altars that I have shown you, I often say to fill the pocket altar, make like a dish and fill it with salt and eggshells and things like that. For this, you can't really, or I don't think you should do it that way, because it's not really the same vibe, if that makes sense. The cornucopia is your dish in this instance, so of course you can't put salt and stuff in there. So I would suggest instead of the salt, you're putting in food in there, and the cornucopia is your dish. In terms of candles, again, it's a little different, but basically you would put a candle or couple of them around the cornucopia and light them. Now, because the fall harvest celebrations, because there are 3 of them, they're a little bit different compared to, again, most of the other celebrations, right? So what I would suggest, because these are all a little different, is you do the 24-hour basis for them, where you light a candle for 24 hours for each celebration on a day. Past that, you can continue to light candles if you want, but you would have to change pending on the celebration. Now, some of them do have similar colors to put up. So if you wanted to light, say, if you want to do continuations, what I would suggest is a 7-day candle. Buy a 7-day candle in the color, or a couple of them in the colors of these represented Harvest Festival days. And then you can light those for 7 days at a time. And that's what I would suggest if you want to do the long-term celebrating of it. Now, if you want to go the full length, I mean, we're talking 2 months worth of celebrating, basically. If you want to do the full two months, basically, because Lammas starts on August 1st, then you have Mabon on September 21st, and then you have Samhain, that is about a 7-day festival on its own, starting, the most common is on October 31st, and it runs till about November 7th. So you have pretty much 3 months, you actually have about 3 months worth of celebration there. And so that can make it a little difficult if you want to go for the long term. I would say, though, that honestly 7 days is enough to celebrate each individual one for its own reasons. Even though they are similar, they do have their back-end purposes, per se, to them. One is for the initial things. Lammas is kind of like your initial things. So that is for the first harvest. That is your You're thanking the earth for its first harvest and how good it is. Mabon is in between, and it is the secondary harvest. So there's always a first harvest, and there's a second harvest, and then there's a final harvest. Your second harvest will be more along the lines of like your Thanksgiving kind of things. So you're looking at more grains, if that makes sense, because you only get a very small amount for that first harvest, and then the second harvest is bigger. But also the second harvest is often, from what I understand, is when you get more of like your vegetables and your fruits and things like that. And then you have your third and final harvest, which is everything basically, and it's the final, you're getting literally what the farmers have. That's it for the rest of the season. So it's seen, Samhain is seen as many things, and we will touch on that in the next video. The next video will be on Samhain. And there will be lots to touch on there, because it's not just, it is the final harvest festival day, but it also has obviously more background and more meaning to it than just that. But yeah, so I would suggest, if you want to go kind of more long term, I would highly suggest that you go for the 7 days for each one, and again, buy yourself a 7-day candle for yourselves. Speaking of candles, I'm going to go over the colors that you can associate with it, and that is brown, green, gold, orange, red, and yellow. Okay? So those are all colors that you can buy candles in, and you can light those. Again, if you want to buy a 7-day candle, you can get it hopefully in one of those colors, or if you, I think if you go on Etsy, you can request somebody to do a custom candle for you. I believe you just put in that you want a 7-day candle. I imagine they probably have it up there, on their sites. I will see, if I can, I will link some Etsy, creators below who do 7-day custom candles. And if I can. If they're not there, then I wasn't able to find any. But I will try to get you guys some links for that. And, because as far as I know, you can request a custom-made 7-day candle. And basically they will do it with whatever you want in it, for like, as far as I know, for like color, so a 7-day candle with color, scents, herbs, things like that. I will see if I can find them. If I couldn't, I apologize. I thought for sure there was, because I think I've seen them before, but that doesn't mean that there's any right now. So hopefully that'll be in the link, be in the description below. Rather, the links will be in the description below. I think that's it. I think that's all we got covered for Mabon. So that is coming up here as of the time I'm recording this. But of course, by the time it comes out, it will be past Mabon. We, in fact, probably by the time this comes out, we might even be past Samhain. But I'm unsure. Either way. Regardless, I hope that this video was very informative, and I hope you got what you needed out of it. And I hope that some witches out there who are just beginning their craft, I hope that you guys got something out of this video that was helpful. I will also have below some links, hopefully, where to buy the 2 books that I use religiously for my spell work and for just knowledge on general craft work. It's like witch encyclopedias, basically. I will hopefully link those below where you can find them and buy them. I am not sponsored by any of the people that I put in the description. I just really like the books. And like I said, I think that Etsy is a great place to find some witch stuff, so that's why I'm linking Etsy. Also, I realized in my previous videos I didn't tell you guys, so I'm going to kind of shamelessly self-promote myself here. I have an Etsy. Oddly enough, I don't do witchy stuff on there. I actually just do art. So if you want, I actually do bookmarks at the moment. So if you guys want some really cute, really cool bookmarks, please check out my Etsy. The link will be in the description as well. It'll be at the same tag basically as my YouTube, which is The Creative Crow. So I hope you guys check that out, and I would really appreciate if you guys bought some some bookmarks. I will be having some new ones coming out, or they might already be out. If this is out in October, I probably already have new designs out for Halloween, so I hope you guys get those. If not, I will be having, if this is out in November, I will be having some Christmas ones coming out probably early December. So stay with me, please, if you guys want those. Yeah, I hope you guys stay spooky and have a good time, okay? So, bye.